You're listening to the Self-Made is a Myth, Make a Difference Together show with your host, Coach Tim Campsall, where we talk with successful business owners to hear the stories of their journeys in building their successful businesses. And more importantly, we recognize the folks who help them excel because we know that achieving business success is not something we can do on our own.
Hello, everyone. This is Coach Tim Campsall, and I'm excited to have a fellow business owner from Indiana with us today. My guest, check this out. He's right-handed, but he writes backhanded, more like a lefty would. And in his downtime, he enjoys being on the lake on his jet ski, and he's most proud of becoming a big brother and his little place second in wrestling in the state, which is very cool. It is my pleasure to welcome Jacob to the show today. Hello, Jacob.
Hey, Tim, how's it going?
I'm awesome. Thanks for asking. Well, hey, let's start with having you introduce yourself to the audience. Tell us a little bit of your personal story, like where you were born and live, and about your family and hobbies.
Yeah, sure. So I was actually born in Terre Haute, Indiana, but spent about 3 days there. Grew up mostly on the east side of Indianapolis. My family's from a small town in Indiana, Washington, Indiana. I'm sure a handful of people have heard of that. But so yeah, I grew up on the east side. Kind of a big family, three brothers, all named starting with J, 3 years apart. So kind of easy math there to remember the basics of the family unit. Lots of sports growing up. My mom was always my coach, and my dad was too, but my mom was louder. Yeah, kind of. They were entrepreneurial. My dad owned a construction company, and kind of got my foot in the door. I've got the bug of, hey, this is an option for me, and kind of all went from there.
Very cool. So tell us about the writing. So my dad was left-handed. So when you say backwards, you mean like kind of like upside down that way?
Yeah, it's such a funny thing. I like to dunk on myself a little bit because I don't write there very much anymore, right? So
Sure.
we're all on computers all the time. But when I do have to write for a check or whatever, people I can tell they're giving me that look because it's really awkward. They're like, "Are you okay, man?"
You're
Uh,
right.
I've been doing it since I was a little kid. Teachers tried to work it out of me, but I'm pretty stubborn, and probably says a lot about me. But yeah, no, it's a funny thing, and it looks so weird. So I love
I
to call
love
it
it.
out.
That's fantastic. Uh, beyond that one, is there a funny story that your family likes to tell about you that you'd be willing to share with us today?
Oh gosh. Well, in high school, I grew my hair out very long and got it permed. So they really like to bring that one up of like, the judgment. I would say juniors or sophomores in high school probably aren't prepared to make that level of hairstyle adjustment.
Oh man, I'd love to see a picture of that.
I'll have to get one to you. It's pretty comical. I thought it looked great. I was
Right?
like, I'm
Yeah.
cool.
Hey, Jacob, tell us, how did business come about, and at what point did you have the confidence that you could run your own business?
Oh yeah. So the my current business Craft had kind of spawned out of two prior businesses. And it started after college, kind of in this 2008, 2009. Not a great time to be job hunting. You needed 5 years experience for an entry level job at that point. So I was dabbling on some things on the side. I actually started a business with my parents, and through that kind of spawned the web business that I started initially. So just out of a lot of opportunity, a lot of like room for error there, and kind of doing work for friends and family, that kind of stuff, kind of catapulted to good timing where my younger brother graduated and he was also looking for something to do. So that's kind of how I got my start into the business world, was a lot of trial and error, lots of failures. Just kicking the tires kind of stuff.
Very cool. And you mentioned that your family was entrepreneurial. So is that where you had the confidence that you could go out on your own?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just kind of a mindset of, I've seen you see other people doing stuff, and it's just kind of a something that it's not a thought. Like there was no idea in my mind that I couldn't do this.
Yeah.
It was always an option on the table. So I was very fortunate to see um, people being entrepreneurial in action around me as I grew up, and had that as an option on the table. So that was really kind of where that confidence came from. Was you see it enough, you're like, okay, people can do this.
Right. And if you had the confidence to perm your hair, I mean, you could pretty much tackle the world, right?
Yeah, junior high school me was confidence was sky high, maybe a little too high, but
So tell us more about the company. You mentioned the name, but say that again. And what do
yeah.
you do? How do you help people?
Yeah, so the company's Crafted. We are a digital agency here, located here in Indianapolis. 14 of us, so we're small and agile. We help companies build scalable UI. So what does that mean? It basically is if you are a legacy software company that's looking to get into the modern world of software, we can help you build those UIs to support that. We also build apps for startups and do all sorts of software development. But our main focus is getting people to that next gen modern UI and front end frameworks. So a lot of our work there is kind of it's funny. It's kind of like we do a lot of programming, but we also do a lot of like road mapping and helping companies set the vision and tone for their future. And then whether we're doing some of the work or they are, that's sort of our go-to realm there. So
Fantastic. For everyone listening, make sure to go check out the company and the link in the description and visit Jacob on LinkedIn and let him know that you watched his interview. So,
oh yeah, tell me I did a great job too, by the way.
Jacob, share a story where someone pushed you or inspired you that you could do it, even though maybe you didn't think that you could, and the impact that that person had on you.
Yeah. So a lot of my inspiration, early, like, your formidable years in high school, I was a wrestler and, did a lot of the extra things. Like I was afforded a lot of opportunities to go to a lot of the extra camps and nationals, but it was my high school coach and my parents who really set the tone for me early about I can do anything if I just put my mind to it and work hard. And through my high school at my senior year, actually, I hadn't done anything in state yet. I hadn't even gone to state or placed. But I made it my mission junior year that I was going to train really hard. I was going to put every ounce of energy that I had into this. And my Coach Ledbetter, actually was the one who was like, "Hey, come in early." We were there basically every morning at 5 a.m. working, and it was kind of like just a lot of like reinforcing like my behaviors and that kind of stuff, confidence building. But that year I did play second in state, and it was just an amazing experience for me because kind of cemented in my mind that if you have a goal, if you have something you're trying to accomplish, if you just keep telling yourself over and over again, this is what you're going to do, this is how you're going to accomplish it, and then you put in the work to do it, it just kind of it's magic. It's not magic because it's a lot of hard work, but
Yeah,
it's one of
yeah.
those things that you look up and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm doing a thing. And all it took was doing all the boring stuff that you don't want to do.
Right? Yes.
So, yeah.
Well, tremendous parallels to business because there's a whole lot of boring stuff that we don't enjoy doing in business as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So, in your introduction, I mentioned that you're a big brother and that you're little Russells as well. So that's interesting that you're able to pass on that legacy or that experience.
Yeah, it's been an awesome experience. I had been wanting to get involved in the program for a long time and finally pulled the trigger. And it's like the best decision I ever made. Whatever the littles get out of it, the bigs get tenfold.
Hmm.
It's just so rewarding and it's seriously been one of the more or most transformative experiences of my life. I've been doing it for about a year now, so I would encourage anyone who's ever thought about getting involved, just go do it. Go talk to somebody because it's awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I was a big for about 7 years when I lived in Milwaukee. And yeah,
Yeah,
I'm sure I got more out of it than he did. It's just a very rewarding experience. So,
yeah, for sure.
hey, Jacob, what's the biggest learning that you've had so far as a business owner?
Yeah, I would say the biggest learning is early on, it was very much, I thought the work was going to be the hard part. This is a common theme I hear across a lot of new business owners. I talk to a lot of startups, and, there's a lot of focus early on of like, do a thing very, very well. And you do have to do that. But what I was surprised by was how much of business is the relationships, and nurturing those relationships and making sure you're doing the right things to set yourself up for success. I was taken aback early on in my career of how many times I delivered great results, but the outcome was not good. And it's because of expectation setting or misunderstandings and alignment early on in the process. Lots of things that can be solved by communication. But when you're starting out, you don't communicate well because you're afraid, you're going to be made out to be an imposter. There's all these things going
Yeah.
on. But that was my biggest learning. It took a while to figure that out. I was just mad for a while. But
Yeah.
I didn't know who or at what, but I was mad. So yeah,
Yes.
that was probably my biggest learning.
I love it. One of the things that we say here at Action Coach is that communication is the result that we get, right? So if a customer who we delivered great results for fires us, then right, that's really the result of our communication. And to your point, right, it's more about that relationship and that rapport, and having clarity of expectations and being aligned and being on the same page. And unfortunately, as much as we'd all like it to be black and white about the results, it's just simply not.
Right, right.
So Jacob, we know that business success doesn't happen in isolation. So tell us about your biggest challenge during the years, and maybe a fellow business owner or a colleague who came alongside you and helped you through that.
Yeah, that's a good question. So biggest challenge, I think was early on. Excuse me, just having the willpower to keep moving forward. I had a early on, a couple of clients that went sideways, and I really wanted, I didn't want to give up, but I was feeling like there was no hope. There was no light at the end of the tunnel. And I had an amazing group of support members around me. Specifically, my dad was always there to just kind of calm the storm and tell me like, hey, there's light at the end of the tunnel. You're gonna be fine. Just keep moving forward, kind of thing. And we made it through, and I didn't die, so that's great. I
Yeah.
feel like our fear brains are always way out of control in business, and our reactions are not proportional to the reality. And that was really true for me early on. So it was nice to have that support group of people who, for one, would let me vent, but two, were there to be supportive and not pile on, and just say, "Hey, I hear you, but keep moving forward, and you're going to be okay." So that was early on is always I think there's always challenges further down the road, but after you've been through a handful of things, you're just like, it's we'll
Yeah.
get through this. Yeah.
You mentioned fear. It's such a powerful limiting force. We actually define it as false expectations appearing real. Because typically, right, we'll in our head, we'll blow it up and we'll assume the worst case scenario, and then we believe that worst case scenario, and we prevent ourselves, we paralyze ourselves from pushing through it. So it's
Oh, yeah.
being able to rejigger it, right, and rethink it and go, okay, hold on, wait a minute. That's the worst case. Here's the best case. Here's the
Yeah.
most probable. Now let's move forward.
Yeah, and I will just add to that. It's like I feel like there's a self-fulfilling prophecy when you're fearful. You almost project that onto people, and you can't decide whether that was really going to be their reaction, or was it because the way you
Yes.
did it. So
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the whole concept of the law of attraction, right? So what we think and believe is what we attract. So if we're
yeah,
sitting across from a prospect, and we are nervous and feel like we're not going to get the deal, guess what's going to happen? They're going to sniff out that fear, and we're not going to get the deal.
yep, yep.
Hey, Jacob, if I'm going to put you on the spot here, ask you to pick three people in your business owner journey who you're most grateful for them being there to help with your success. Who are those three people, and how did they help you?
Yeah, well, I can always name my family. So, my business partner, Job, he's my younger brother. He was kind of that steady, unemotional rock for me early on. Maybe he just didn't know to be emotional. I don't know, but like whatever he has in him, it was very comforting. He's a great listener and doesn't overreact a lot. So he was really great. And sorry if there's literally a train going by right now. But I would say definitely my brother Job, and I could mention any one of my family members as a support. But I'll just pick him, and everyone will finally know he's my favorite. Uh,
Oh.
I then I would say Sean Heiss, my business partner, my other business partner. He has been instrumental in my growth of, he's got a little bit of I want to say swagger or just confidence to him that helped me early on when I was struggling with providing value but not getting the results I was looking for. So he's helped me take that kind of next step. And the third one, it's like there's so many people that that have helped me along the way. It's really hard to pick. Those two are obvious. It's like my two business partners,
Yeah.
right? Um, uh,
I did say I was going to put you on the spot, right?
yeah, yeah. I'm just gonna go back in time and I'm gonna say my coach from high school, Coach Ledbetter. He really didn't. We kind of lost touch after high school and after college. We chatted a few times, but he really set me up for success. He was just such a hard worker and such instilled in me just go to the gym, go to the room, keep putting in the time kind of thing. That I think without that, I probably would have been not. It would have been tougher for me, and my journey would have been looked a lot different probably. So
Awesome. I love you mentioned it a couple times of just that perseverance. So when things get tough or the fear gets in the way, it's really about the doing the reps, right? Remembering the daily practice of my coach would told me in my first couple years when I was going through those fears and doubts and worries and couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. It says, hey Tim, just be persistent and consistent.
yeah,
Keep doing the do, keep planting the seeds. Some will sprout now, many will sprout later. And it's all about, continuing to do those activities and don't doubt yourself and don't stop doing it. Don't give up. Because you'd mentioned it. There are many times that I wanted to give up as well, because right,
yeah,
you just don't see what you don't know. And until you go through it a few times, and you mentioned, now you have less of that happening because you know that you'll make it through. But in the beginning, it's hard to see that this thing in front of us isn't going to kill us, right?
yeah, yeah. No, it's so hard, but no, and it's also especially like a lot of people are asking you throughout your journey, how's it going, and you don't want to sound negative. So like that's another hard part is in the beginning you're just like, yeah, it's great, and then the inside you're just dying. You're like, oh my
Yeah.
god, it's so difficult. I hate. So like I think it's important when people are starting that they understand that hey, everybody's struggling. We all are going through this. It's our social media or our outward projection is never really truly representative of how things are on the ground. So that's why I would encourage people to just keep going. It's never all rainbows and sunshine. There's always the nitty gritty stuff that kind of stinks. So
I appreciate you sharing that because it is true when we look at social media that obviously everyone's going to put their best foot forward because that's what's needed to market our business. But yes, the reality is it's not always easy and it's not always fun and there's lots of challenges and guess what? It's really lonely at the top. So a lot of folks don't even have somebody that they can talk to about this issue. I mean, you've been fortunate because you have a couple of business partners, right? That you're able to probably lament with and talk things out loud and be real with each other about the actual emotional roller coaster that starting a business can be all about. So,
yep,
yeah,
yep,
I appreciate Jacob that you being transparent about it. It's not always it's not always roses and butterflies. There's some hard
Yeah,
times and some doubtful times.
for sure, for sure.
So as you think about the next 1 to 3 years, what's the number one, either point of growth or challenge that you see that you're going to need to work through in order to achieve your goals?
Yeah. So I would say we're 14 people. It's just that right size of company that the owners are still working sort of in the business a little bit, probably more than we should. It's that next step of growth where we've got a great group of people that work for us, and their next level of growth is going to be vital for our business, so that we can expand and get bigger. We've gotten a little bit bigger than 14 before, and it's right at that sweet spot of once you get to like 16, 18, it becomes a little bit harder to do all the things that the owners do at that size. So for us, it'll probably be deciding how we want to go down that journey, and if we're, do we want to go wider, do we want to go deeper,
Yes.
so for us, that's kind of where we're at in the crossroads in our business, and it's very similar to a lot of businesses. We're fortunate; we've done pretty well and pretty steady throughout the years. It's just, how do you go from a steady business to growth, and do that in a sustainable, responsible way, because you do have 14 people that you're a part of your family here. So you have to consider that as you're taking these risks or looking at these opportunities. So
Yeah, I appreciate that concept of, hey, I've got a team to take care of, right? I need to be responsible and make sure that we're being, you know taking care of them and doing the right things for them as well. That's an awesome perspective. What you just talked about in terms of scale, I'll call it scaling, is very common. So typically what we see is, as businesses grow, right, the owner may start out on their own and then hire a couple of folks and have more like of a manager role. And then, as the company grows, they become more like owner operators, but they're still in the day to day and still very much the glue that holds the company together. And then typically what'll happen is as the business continues to be successful, is the business outgrows the capacity of the owners. And so we typically see, the business will spike in terms of growth, and then it plateaus, and it's because it can't grow beyond the owner. So really what you just said is the next step for a lot of companies. It's like, all right, do we want to stay where we're at, where we have our hands pretty much in everything or most things, right? And can make quick decisions because we're in the know, or do we want to scale and have the business grow beyond our capability of being involved in all the day to day? So I appreciate you sharing that, because I think there's a lot of folks who are at that inflection point of, do we stay where we're at, or do we, double down and look at significant growth?
yeah, yeah, for sure.
So, Jacob, as you think about taking on that next step, what do you feel is the thing that's right in front of you that you have to address or change or work through?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I would say probably sales. Like, our business has always operated under very referral based, very people we know who know people, and there's just not been uh, uh, in all the owners we're all very capable. We have good networks. We are good communicators. So we're very capable when we need to go get work,
Hmm.
or explore those options. So I think for us, it would be building a more sustainable sales system, because that's always historically been our bottleneck. We get busy, and I see this all the time. Like, because we work with a lot of businesses, we get to a mini preview of how their businesses operate.
Sure.
And it's all the time where people are always kind of chasing their own tail, or you get a bunch of sales in, well, then you gotta do the work, and when you're doing
Yeah.
the work, you're not getting the sales.
Yeah.
So for us, I think that the path is pretty clear. We have to find a more sustainable way to attract leads, which a lot of businesses are
Yes,
struggle with that.
yes,
It's
absolutely.
got to be the number one issue, right?
Yep.
But that's probably where my head goes to initially. And then second tier there is just internal processes and building leaders. Continuing to have better systems. When you're small, you have you have the luxury of you can pretty much do things cowboy style or just
Yeah.
shoot from a lot. And you see big bureaucracies and you see how those systems work and why they exist, but also how they can be a negative in some aspects. So always trying to strike that balance of, is this one of my employees actually were talking the other day about a new process, and I was saying, hey, we want to make sure this doesn't slow us down. And his response was, if the tool becomes an obstacle, then it's no longer a tool.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, you got it. Go do that thing now.
Yes.
Like that. And
Yes.
that's always reassuring to hear when we try to talk in our business to everybody as if we're all business owners here, because at the end of the day, like, we can't do this without our team. And if they can think about things the way we're thinking about them more, we have more success. And ultimately what we're trying to do is build something that can grow and also build us our lifestyle that we're looking to achieve as well. So
I like a couple of things that you were saying that I think the audience would benefit from. So first of all, the teeter-totter effect of get the work, do the work, right? Though if we get too much work and now we have to do it all, then we can't get more work. And then when the work's done, it's like, oh crap, the funnel's empty. Now we got to go back. So from a cash flow standpoint, that's really not fun, right? Because we have a bunch of stops and starts. And then the systematizing of the business. I like what your team member said of, at the end of the day, a system should help us become more efficient and effective and elevate us to being able to grow faster. It shouldn't be something that's slowing us down and preventing us from being able to do the job. So there's some discernment that needs to happen in that, and evaluation of, is this the right tool, and do we have the right oversight of the tool to make sure that it's actually helping to facilitate us going faster, as opposed to the bureaucracy that you mentioned earlier of, the tool can't create this process that stops us from being able to be the awesome company that we already are.
yeah, no, I mean, there's a lot of times I've seen, even in within our organization, is just the knee-jerk reaction of something goes wrong, then you figure out, you do a retro or you inspect what went wrong, you figure that out, then you put in all these guardrails to make sure that never goes wrong again. But the guardrails are counterproductive in the sense that they take so much time to implement or to maintain that, well, maybe there's a different solution. So I would encourage business owners to definitely be retrospective and make sure you're looking at the things that are working and aren't working. Very important. And don't overreact to the things that aren't working, but do experiment and always keep in mind of, this is the solution sensible and reasonable for the application that we're using it with. So I've done it. Everybody's done it where you overreact, and now it's this
Yeah.
obstacle, and you're just like, I hate this. And
Right.
there's a better way.
Yes, indeed. You mentioned, just your interactions with other businesses and seeing common themes, and it's true. The bottlenecks or the challenges that businesses face are very common as they're growing, and one that you just mentioned is that, as a smaller company, it's easy for all of the knowledge and processes to be in our head, right? And we just do it naturally because we've always done it that way. But as we bring on new team members, it's really hard to transfer, 5 or 10 or 20 years of expertise that's in our head, into a new employee and expect them to be able to do it as good as we can, without having some type of system or process or documentation or how to, so that they have something to go to and follow and go, oh yeah, okay, that's what Jacob said. I know he told me 5 points, but I only remembered 3 of them, and now he's busy, and I don't know if I want to, bother him. And so yeah, by having it written out, it's like, oh yeah, way more efficient for him to read. Oh, there's what number 3 was.
Yeah, yeah, it's funny because I don't know where I heard it, but it's something to the effect of it. You can, um, it's not exactly applicable here, but it's more about sometimes there's this knee-jerk reaction of when someone comes to me, I'll say, "Oh, I could just do that in 2 seconds," instead of explain it to them. And the payoff is like you could tell that person 20 or 30 times, and it'd be better to write it down and tell them once, or maybe twice. But you
Yep.
could tell that person 20 times how to do that, and it'd still be in the long run more efficient than if you just took on the work and changed what you were doing. So I try to keep that in my head on a day-to-day basis, and yeah, processes are writing systems down is important. Sometimes you just my issue is always making sure that am I writing the system down because it's a problem we need to systematize, or is there a better or alternative way, or should we even be doing this? So, and that's always the hard part is mid flow, like you're trying to get stuff
Yep.
done, but
Yep.
you're also trying to be thoughtful and prescriptive about how you're doing it and how this might affect future work. So pain is normally the best indicator for me of like, okay, this has annoyed
Yeah.
me enough times that
Yep.
this something's got to get fixed here. So
I love what you said. Everybody has this perspective of, hey, it's just easier for me to do it myself. And the truth, the honesty is, it's
yeah,
always easier for you to do it yourself in the moment.
correct. Yeah.
However, if you're getting that question on a regular basis, then it shifts because the opportunity cost is, hey, I can keep answering this question 2 or 3 times a week for the rest of my life, or I could take an hour and while I'm doing it this time, document how I did it. Right. I tell people use two screens, right? Do the actual thing on screen one and have your process document on screen two. And now it's there. And the next time they ask how to do it, you say, hey, please refer to this link and let me know what questions you have. And now, over the lifetime, we've just saved ourselves 5 minutes here and 10 minutes there and, 5 minutes here. And now it becomes hours that we've just saved.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I don't know if it's ego or fear or what, but that was something that, speaking of things that I struggled with early on, was just getting past that. And you hire people that are talented. Why not leverage that and have them? It's like there, I don't know. But I just got back from a 2-week vacation, and it was the best vacation I've ever taken, not only because it was a beautiful place, but because I knew that everybody on my team is so capable that there's just nothing that's going to come up that's not going to be something they can either handle, or we can defer if it's, there might be like a password I know that no one else knows
Sure.
still, but uh, that
Yes.
still a thing. But it's just one of the things, like I felt very confident in their ability to handle those things, and it was for peace of mind and just for future, like it's just a good feeling to have. So
You mentioned, maybe it's an ego thing. Well, here the reality is there's a significant mindset shift that we all need to go through because, let's face it, the our business is our baby, right? We went through the initial few years of pain of figuring it out and getting it to work, and it's hard to let go. So the big mindset shift that we all have to go through is going from owner operator to more of a CEO mindset, right? And being comfortable letting go and trusting the team and knowing that we've got the right processes in place and feeling like, hey, I know they're going to make mistakes. I made mistakes. It's okay because we've got a safety net in place that they can't make too big of mistakes. But that's not something that just happens overnight, right? Like I said, there's a big mindset shift that has to happen there and a growth that we need to go through in order to get to that place where it's like, okay, yep, I've arrived at the next level and I've got a business that is capable of running without my day-to-day interactions and it takes time.
yeah, the only thing I would correct there is I never made any mistakes. So you must be talking about someone else.
I think Job might tell me something different.
Yeah, 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 he definitely would.
So last question here. Jim Rohn said we become the average of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. So Jacob, as you think about that quote, what advice would you have for business owners who are trying to do it on their own?
Yeah, well, that quote is so applicable, and really your network and the people you talk to on a day-to-day basis is very important. But the one advice I would give business owners is, or people trying to do it on their own, is don't try to do everything on your own. There are plenty of people who have been exactly where you've been, who can at least give you their perspective. It may not be the thing you need to do, but it's at least something, another angle, another perspective that you can lean on and get a better sense of, hey, things become way less overwhelming when you talk to a few people and you realize, okay, this is not something new. This is not unique to me. There's plenty of resources out there to help me. And it's really hard to know that, or to get to that in the moment. Like when someone sends you a scathing email about how bad you are, all you want to do is fire back, no, you're bad. And it's like, there are these opportunities we have. And early on, you're definitely going to miss them. But remembering that you're not the worst, like you're not an imposter. Everyone's struggling, despite what it looks like on social media. Just ask for help is my main takeaway. Ask people for help, and you'll be surprised at how willing people are to help you. Because it's just a great feeling, to help somebody else. So ask for help.
Yeah. There are a lot of folks who have said, hey, Tim, I'm afraid of, asking somebody for a coffee meeting. They might say no. And everybody I've had on the show has said essentially the same thing is, hey, we've all been there. So if another business owner reaches out and wants to, chat about some ideas, happy to pass it, to pay it forward, because we've all been there.
Yeah. And the worst they can say is no, honestly. And I early on, speaking of early on experiences, I was about a year into my business. I asked a chief marketing officer of a very big company here in town, just cold LinkedIn and said, hey, would you like to meet? And he was like, sure. And I was so nervous and didn't really do a good job of preparing, because I was like, man, this guy's going to see me for the fraud I am. But it was still a reminder carrying with me forward that people like to help, and of course, if I could go back in time, I would have prepared better questions and not and so deer in the headlights. But you have to be where you are, and that's where, so but yeah.
Awesome. Jacob, it sounds like you've had some pretty incredible people in your life that had helped you on your business journey. If they were all on the show here today, what would you want to say to them? Yeah.
Just a very deep and sincere thank you for the opportunities that I've been provided. It's one of those things that we are the safety net that we're provided, and the ability to fail. I'm truly a true believer in success is generally indicated by how many times you are allowed to fail. And I've been allowed to fail a lot, maybe too many times now. But I would just say thank you from the bottom of my heart, and just they probably don't know how much it's meant over the years. So I couldn't have done it without people. I wouldn't be where I am today without the people around me. So thank you.
Fantastic. Jacob, it's been a pleasure having you on the show today. Thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Self-Made is a Myth show. Please help spread this movement by liking and subscribing to our show and following us on Facebook and LinkedIn. To join our movement, go to bemadtogether.com. Okay, folks, that's a wrap. Please pay it forward and be sure to tune in next time to the Self-Made is a Myth podcast.